Welcome back to another video. It's your favorite math professor, Dr. Tarcia Hubert. And in this video, we're going to talk about bar graphs. I'm pretty sure you already know what a bar graph is. I'm just going to show you how to create one in Excel. And also, I'm going to teach you about a Pareto chart and side-by-side bar graph. So, should be a quick video, but I do want to walk you through Excel and how to set this up. So, first of all, I have to give you the formal definition for a bar graph. And a bar graph is a graph that's constructed by labeling each category of data on either the horizontal or vertical axis and the frequency or relative frequency of the category on the other axis, which is the vertical axis. And then you draw rectangles of equal width for each category. The height of each rectangle represents the category's frequency or relative frequency. All right. And that is a long definition for something you probably already know, which is fine. I'm just giving it to you again. So we're going to look at an example to see how this actually works, all right? So example, the chart below, or actually to the side, shows the movement of Walt Disney stock for 30 randomly selected trading days. If it says up, this data over here, if it says up, that means the stock price increased in value for the day. If it says down, that means the stock value decreased for the value for the day. And if it says no change, that means the stock price closed at the same price it closed for the previous day. All right. And so first of all, we want to construct a frequency bar graph. And then secondly, we want to construct a relative frequency bar graph. And before we can do that, I need to identify the frequency of each category. So I need to create a frequency distribution. All right. So in order to create a frequency distribution, I need to know, and these are in order, alphabetical order. We have these three categories down, no change, and up. So I first need to know how many of each do I have. So if I go through and I count down, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have 15 in this category. And I want to count no change. I have 1, 2, no change. And then if I want to count up, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13. And this was for 30 days, so these should total up to 30. 15 and 2 is 17, 17 and 13 is 30. So I know I have all of them here, all right? So I got 15, 2, and 13. I'm going to exit out of this and go over to Excel to show you how to create this bar graph in Excel. Okay, so I'm in Excel, and I have typed my categories down, no change, and up here. I've typed in my frequencies, 15, 2, and 13. And because the second part of the problem wants us to create a relative frequency bar graph, I'm also going to calculate the relative frequency. But I'm going to calculate it here in Excel. I'm going to hit the equal key. Remember, the relative frequency is the frequency. So I'm going to click on the frequency, divided by, I'm putting my division line, and the total number of frequencies, which we know was 30. So it'll be that divided by 30. So now I don't have to type that in for each category. I could just click on this cell, take my little cross, click it in the corner here, and drag that down. And basically what it does is it copies that formula over into each cell. And so therefore we have our relative frequencies calculated here. And it was calculated in Excel, so I did not have to calculate those separately. All right. First thing I want to do is I want to create a bar graph, a frequency bar graph. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to click right here. You see these look like the bars. I'm going to click here. It's going to give me 3 different types of bars. I want to click this first one. All right. Now it automatically put both in there. I don't want to do that. I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag this over so that it only includes the relative frequency. So I took the corner there and I moved it to where it only covered the frequency column. So now we have a frequency bar graph. It has down, no change, and up, which are my categories. And then it has my frequencies on the side here. So you can see down is at 15, no change. And if you hover over it, it shows you the value. That's 2, and then up has a value of 13, and you can see it comes over here. So that would be my frequency bar graph, and that is what it would look like. Now, I want to now just create a relative frequency bar graph. So I'm going to unhighlight this. Actually, I'm going to get out of this chart and I'm going to click on this column B and I'm going to go to hide. I'm going to hide this column. And now I want to do basically the same thing I did before. I want to go to insert. I want to go to bar graph. I want to click right here and I want to highlight both of those. All right. Now what it didn't automatically do it. So this is my graph from the last one I'm going to delete. But for this one, it didn't automatically create my graph like it did the last time, which is fine. If that ever happens, just click on the graph and go to up here where it says select data. And now you want to, let's say that wasn't there. This is where you would highlight the columns you want to include. And now it automatically updates. It shows you the relative frequency is what you're measuring on that vertical axis. And these are your categories: down, no change, and up, which is on that horizontal axis. So this would be your relative frequency bar graph. This is what it would look like, okay? Now we could also have what's called a side-by-side bar graph, which I'm kind of jumping around, which is fine. A side-by-side bar graph compares more than one category. So these are categories, but if I had more than one thing here I wanted to compare, I could put those in a side-by-side bar graph. I'll show y'all an example of that in a minute. But basically, if I wanted to undo the column that I hid, I would click right here and click unhide, and it will put my column B back in there. But this is an example of a side-by-side bar graph. In this case, it doesn't really make sense to compare these two, so I'll show you another example. But you have two bar graphs that are side-by-side. You have two different values for down. One of them is the frequency, one of them is the relative frequency. We wouldn't actually compare these, but that's just an example of a side-by-side bar graph. Okay, now here's an example of a side-by-side bar graph that would actually be useful. Like, say for instance, we had educational attainment in 1990 versus 2017, and we wanted to compare no high school graduate, not a high school graduate, high school diploma, some college, no degree, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and graduate professional for those 2 years. So the blue is 1990 and the green is 2017. You can look, this comparison makes more sense. We're looking at how it grew over time. So high school diplomas, that went down. Not having a high school diploma, that decreased. Some college increased. Associate's degrees increased. Bachelor's degrees increased. Graduate degrees increased. So this comparison gives us some useful information. So this is a great example of a side-by-side bar graph. And then we can also have what's called a pareto chart. Let me see. And that's basically a bar graph where the bars are drawn in decreasing order of frequency or relative frequency, okay? So let me go back to my Excel sheet and I'm going to show y'all what would change in our bar graph to make it a pareto chart. Okay, so I'm back in Excel and I want to take my same data. I'm going to highlight it all and I'm going to sort it. So I'm going to go to data up here and I'm going to click sort. And I want to sort this by, I'm going to create a Pareto chart based on the frequency. And I could be saying it wrong. It could be Pareto. I don't know if you could tell by now, but I'm very country. And, you know, I'm just a country person. I can't take that out of me, but I'm going to call it a Pareto chart. And I'm going to take these values, sort by frequency, and it goes from biggest to smallest, largest to smallest. And I'm going to click OK. And basically it takes my data and it sorts it to where I have the biggest frequency first, followed by the next biggest, followed by the smallest. And so I'm going to go back and create, insert, and do another bar chart, bar graph. And then you see it didn't automatically do it. So I'm going to click right here and I'm going to click select data. And here I'm just going to highlight my two columns that I want to use for the data. And bam, there's my bar graph. And the only difference is the same as before, but the only difference is now it goes from biggest to smallest. So all you have to do is come in Excel and sort your data from biggest to smallest and then create your bar graph. And then you have a Pareto chart. All right, so that's a Pareto chart. So this is how you would create a bar graph in Excel, a Pareto chart. And also you could do a side-by-side graph by just highlighting both columns, but you can do all that right here in Excel. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out or put them in the comments, and I will answer them as soon as I can. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.